And thank you for joining us here on Rwanda Television News tonight. We do hope you had yourselves a productive Tuesday. Now here's a sneak peek of our edition. President Paul Kagame, who is also a co-founder of the African School of Governance, said that Rwanda's history offers Africa an important lesson on the need to strive for self-reliance as part of the solutions the continent needs in its mindset, outlook, and development. The government of Rwanda has launched works for the first phase of a project to irrigate more than 3,000 hectares using water from the Muvumba multi-purpose dam located in Nyagatare district. Tonight, coming to you straight from the heart of Africa, Kigali. My name is Martina Avera. President Paul Kagame, who is also a co-founder of the African School of Governance, said that Rwanda's history offers Africa an important lesson on the need to strive for self-reliance as part of the solutions the continent needs in its mindset, outlook, and development. He made the remarks during the Africa Mindset Reset Forum, a conference taking place in Kigali that is focused on transforming mindsets to accelerate the development of Africa and its people. Adam Squizera with more.
Forum brought together leaders and representatives from various sectors across Africa, including governments, the private sector, universities, civil society organizations, the media, and others. It was so largely attended by young people, including students from the Africa School of Governance. Francis Gatari, president of the Africa School of Governance, which organized the conference, said the forum is important for Africa because it demonstrates the willingness of young people to transform their mindsets in order to accelerate the change and development on the continent. Haile Mariam Desalegn, former Prime Minister of Ethiopia and one of the co-founders of the Africa School of Governance, said the idea behind is largely based on building strong governance systems in Africa that are responsive to changes and needs of the continent.
There is a need to change the political economy from rent-seeking dominated political economy to a developmental political economy. And that calls for nothing short of leadership. Right. So leadership is a key. Therefore, there are a number of issues that we can mention, the mental setup or the mindset that has to be changed. But our future, even the current, rests on our young people.
Speaking about the mindset needed among Africa's young people, Ghana's Vice President, Professor Jane Nana Opuko Agemang, said Africans have everything they need to achieve development, but one of the major things lacking is self-awareness. She said the call for the Africa we want should be matched by a commitment to serving and dedicating oneself to the continent.
Like everybody else, but we need to be focused on the vision. And the vision is to have, as President said, the Africa we want. We cannot just have an Africa we want. We must have an Africa we work for and contribute for.
Wow. Thank you so much.
And an Africa we are willing to sacrifice for.
Former South African President Thabo Mbeki said that one of the most important requirements for effective African leadership is for Africans to determine the direction they want the continent to take, clearly understand what they want to achieve, and identify what is required to achieve those goals.
How do we produce this leadership? We had in our history, correctly, this matter that's raised. The continent struggles for its liberation. You have a common groomer from Ghana who attends the 5th Pan-African Congress in 1945 in Manchester, in England. So you can see this history. This is somebody who's very steeped in this matter. Ghana must be free, Africa must be free. What must we do? Well, the Vice President was saying, ready to sacrifice and all of that. Paul Kagame is sitting next to me. particular challenges in Rwanda, which must be addressed. And it'll also mean that certain sacrifices must be made. So those conditions dictate a certain kind of behavior. So you therefore produce the Kwame Nkrumahs and the Paul Kagames and all of these people.
President Paul Kagame said although Africa has faced numerous challenges in development, mindset and other areas, solutions to those challenges exist.
It seems Africa has everything in place to succeed. It really does. It does. It has people, it has resources, it has the history that we have or should have learned a lot of lessons from. But looking back again, every day there are discussions about our continent, whether at the African Union or in other settings, and sometimes ourselves discussing, and sometimes other people discussing us. I mean, we just can't stay in one place where we are discussing our problems and evidently convincing ourselves, and rightly so, that we have more or less all we need to be where we want to be at any point in time. But we are not there. We don't get there.
President Kagame also reflected on his own history and Rwanda's experience, describing it as an illustration of resilience and the importance of striving for self-reliance, a responsibility he said should be embraced by everyone.
So the sort of hardships I was talking about were even relating to that. But from that, we grew up into this kind of determination to say, no, we can't just live stateless. We can't live as refugees forever. So that's why so the genocide in Rwanda had started long ago, in the early 60s. That's how I became a refugee with my parents. Some of my relatives did not have a chance to escape to anywhere. They were killed. That time, in the 60s. So the 94 one was just a repetition of what had happened over years. It was in the 60s and then early 70s and then 94. So some people, naturally, humanly, they could have lost hope and lost everything and gave up. Others, some of them were saying, well, in any case, I have nothing to lose. So let me try this one. If I lose a life as a refugee, I don't think I have lost much. But I had to build something that was, so I had to try to build a life that is worth something, and that one could stand up and fight for.
The Africa Mindset Reset Forum 2026 held in Kigali was attended by more than 1,500 people in person, while other 6,000 participants followed the forum virtually from other 65 countries. Adams Kwizera, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Adams, for that report. Now, creators across the world affirmed that it is time for Africa to reshape the execution of its commitments to meet the expected development. These were said during the Africa Mindset Reset Forum 2026 in Kigali. Prince Manzi with more.
This forum is an initiative of the African School of Governance that brought together over 6,000 participants from 74 countries in discussions under the theme From Pan-Africanism to Meta-Africanism.
Should I say Crockett?
The president of the African School of Governance, Francis Gatare, affirmed that Africa never lacked resources or talent, rather the effective execution, a bold vision of the school's co-founders, President Kagame and His Excellency Hailemariam Desalegn.
They had a conviction that Africa neither lacks ambition nor the resources or talent, but rather the right leadership mindset required to build institutions and cultivate habits for execution and results focus. The mindset that shapes character is a choice. It's a choice made through our habits and the lifestyles we choose, the routines we take, the attitudes and behaviors we adopt. Because it's a choice, it also means we can reset them. It means we can reset these mindsets when we commit to do it.
We need to challenge ourselves and say why.
The discussions during the day one of the Africa Mindset Reset Forum 2026 called on the youth to take the responsibility of Africa's future.
We Africans need to tell more of our stories and tell our stories ourselves. And I think we should also learn to groom ourselves from while we're still younger till we get older, so that these things will be with us. And let ourselves not let other people tell our stories for us, because it takes away the actual truth from our real story.
The fact that progress of one is progress of all, we can't just sit down and wait for people to fix our problems. We have to step up really and do things and make Africa better. It's not just about, like I said, it's not about waiting for someone to fix it. It's us stepping to do things and not thinking you're too young or too little. Hearing what some of our leaders have been doing since they were like, only God knows how young, it makes you see that the work that they're doing now didn't just start now. They've started since they were really young. So I believe I have something to give from that, yeah. Because of that, yeah, I have something to give, yeah. I would say it does give us an assignment, and it's that we can, a lot of us think of leadership as being in political positions or occupying an office, but I don't think it's about that. I think we clearly have moved beyond that. It's about taking your place as an active contributor to the growth of Africa. So I think that's what it is. It's stepping out and knowing that what you're doing is changing Africa for Africans, yeah.
Africa's history and the development journey of its nation serves as a lesson for the future and decisions that need to be taken to achieve the realization of the continent's sustainability. According to the president of the African Development Bank, Dr. Sidi Ould Tah, affirmed that Rwanda is an example of how a decision shapes transformation.
Rwanda reminds us that transformation begins with a decision. The decision to refuse the limits of history and circumstances, to think beyond present constraint, and to begin building a future others may not yet envision. That is why Kigali is the right place for this forum. A reset begins when we stop asking only what Africa lacks and begin organizing at scale what Africa already possesses. We possess a young and increasingly connected population, large pools of domestic savings, abundant natural resources, rapidly growing cities, expanding regional markets and institutions with substantial knowledge and convening power. Yet, these assets do not automatically become productive capacity.
Participants of this forum are shaping ideas across governance, regional integration, state effectiveness, resource stewardship, education, dignified work, agri-food systems, and the culture of execution. Prince Manzi, RwandaTV News.
Experts on Africa's development say African countries need to change their mindset and recognize the benefits of facilitating the free movement of people across the continent and strengthening cooperation, as restrictions on movement remain among the factors slowing Africa's development. They made their remarks at the Africa Mindset Reset Forum, which focused on changing the mindset of Africans for the development and well-being of the continent's people. And our Gladys with more.
She's here to talk about the African visa.
Participants at the forum were presented with this year's Africa Visa Openness Index, a report assessing how African countries facilitate the movement of their citizens. across the continent. The report shows that 10 years ago, only about 20% of African countries allowed Africans to enter without a visa. This figure has now increased to 28.2%. The director of the African Development at AFDB, Dr. Joy Katejekwa, said the progress made so far is not enough.
Then those countries that still require a visa ahead of travel, 51%. And so you can see that we still have a huge mountain to climb. Over 50% of the travel situations in Africa require a visa. There's an interesting story that comes out of the regional economic communities. And there you see, so this just shows you the average, and what you see there is ECOWAS doing the best, EAC coming a close second, COMESA also, AMO as well. But what it really tells you, the true story here is that somehow it's easier in the regions than it is at the continental level. That as an East African citizen, I can get up and leave Uganda and come into Rwanda and go into Tanzania and go into Burundi, for example. That ECOWAS has something similar. They have a right to enter, reside, establish. And so the story and the job for us, the mindset reset for us is to say, how do we catch up with the ease in the recs and take it up to the continental level? And so what are the recommendations that we're proposing? Well, here we're breaking them into two blocks of ideas. The first one is understanding that, well, there are issues countries are grappling with on this visa-free issue. And so maybe if you're to take an incremental approach, what can be done? And this is why I should have brought my specs. So what can be done concretely is, first of all, if we're talking about countries that are requiring visas to start, can you move to visa on arrival? What is the interest? The interest is to know who is coming. Can you check that on arrival so you don't stop the process of starting the travel? The other thing is to say, if you have e-visas and e-requirements, ETAs, can we find a way to at least keep the cost simple? Have these electronic systems simple so that they really avoid the friction of a traditional visa? Can we decouple the screening from the actual right to start the travel? And then can we use these findings to advocate for more ratifications of the protocol on free movement? Because this protocol was open, this instrument was open for ratification at the same time as was the AFCFTA. It only has 4 ratifications: Rwanda, Mali, Niger, and I believe Sao Tome and Principe.
On the other hand, it was highlighted that easing the movement of people would help the Open Skies initiative achieve greater results. It was explained that since the Single African Air Transport Market was established in 2018, 38 African countries have joined the initiative. Since 2022, as many as 124 new air routes connecting different African countries have been launched. The head of Transport and Mobility Division at the African Union Commission, Engineer Eric Najinjirwa, said these developments should be viewed as opportunities that Africa can take advantage of.
We should have the confidence as Africa to treat our market as a single market, not 55 separate markets. I will give practical examples. We have our African airlines like Rwanda Air connecting different cities, Kenya Airways, Airlink in Southern Africa. They are connecting different capital cities in Africa. So if we see this as just a new aviation route, that's where we need to shift our mindset. Our mindset should be, we are creating new markets when connecting to different cities. When Rwanda Air connects from Kigali to Lagos, it's not about going to Lagos, it's about what follows after. So what we are saying, the first mindset for us is to look at this as a continental market.
Drawing from Rwanda's experience, the Chief Executive Officer of Rwanda Corporation, Richard Niwenshuti, told participants that African countries could achieve much more by prioritizing cooperation among themselves.
So our echo here is to really say, can we turn into the capabilities of work with the continent? We have to build the confidence in what we have. Why do we look outside if we have solutions that can respond to our challenges? And so knowledge exchange is not demystifying sovereignty. In fact, knowledge exchange amplifies institutional performance. Rwanda has learned in the last 2 years and continues to learn. But what is most important here is that when you learn, you act. And it's important that we act in that. So 10,000 delegates that have joined us, some of them have taken lessons and we have moved into implementation of projects. Which projects are we implementing? In the 5 countries that have been mentioned, we have digital services that we have been rolling out, purposely to support institution support, particularly between governments. In Benin, we worked on different projects, particularly on revenue collection and business registration. In Chad, we supported the development of the revenue collection system, but also the public financial management system. In Eswatini, we are now working together on financial management system, which is really about creating the tools and solutions that support efficiency in public financial management. In Guinea, we are working on procurement, and the project is midway into implementation. In Lesotho, we just held together and jointly, with the invitation of the Kingdom of Lesotho, the National Dialogue, which is the first accountability forum that has been established by the Lesotho leadership. And lastly, but beyond the continent of Africa, we're already working with Jamaica on digital tools, particularly the case management system. To end my presentation, my message here is, 1, Africa has capabilities. Let us look inside. Why source solutions out of the continent? 2, let us collaborate. I think it has been talked about with all the previous speakers. We need to collaborate. Capacities in Ethiopia can respond to challenges in the banks of Conakry, Guinea. Capacities in South can respond to challenges in Sudan. We need to collaborate. We don't need to reinvent the wheel.
At the African Mindset Reset Forum, which focuses on changing the mindset of Africans for the development of the continent's people, Rwanda was also recognized as ranking first in Africa in facilitating the free movement of people. It is followed by the Gambia, Kenya, Benin, and Ghana. Citizens of all these countries can travel to one another without requiring a visa.
The government of Rwanda has launched works for the first phase of a project to irrigate more than 3,000 hectares using water from the Muvumba multi-purpose dam located in Nyagatare district. The Rwanda Water Resources Board, RWB, says construction of the Muvumba dam and the associated power plant is expected to be completed in 2027. We have more on this.
More than 3,000 hectares will be irrigated in the first phase, including over 2,000 hectares on hillsides and another 810 hectares in wetlands. Residents say access to water will help them improve their agricultural activities. The Muvumba multipurpose dam will also have a storage capacity of 55 million cubic meters of water. The water will be used to irrigate more than 10,000 hectares, provide up to 50,000 cubic meters of clean water per day, and generate 1 megawatt of electricity. The executive director of Rwanda Water Resources Board, Engineer Richard Nyirishema, explains that the project is progressing well.
hatangira program ya Muvumba multipurpose dam.
The Muvumba multipurpose dam program is being implemented in phases. The first phase involves construction of the dam itself, together with the power generation component, which is expected to be completed next year in 2027. We then continue mobilizing funding to extend water to the communities. Today's meeting was aimed at bringing together the partners who will play a role in implementing this project so that we can agree on how to be carried out and ensure that it is done properly.
Uburyo bizakorwa kandi mu buryo bwiza.
The Acting Director General of the Rwanda Agriculture and Animal Resources Development Board, Dr. Florence Uwamahoro, says the project will contribute to expanding irrigated land and increasing agricultural production. As you know, Nyagatare is one of the districts that is frequently affected by prolonged drought. Therefore, having a dam and irrigated land will be an important support in increasing agricultural production, because when water is available throughout the farming season, we achieve better yields. This will help us accelerate progress towards the targets set under NST2, particularly the expansion of irrigated land, where we aim to reach 32,000 hectares. In the first phase of the project, 71 kilometers of water distribution canals will be constructed, along with 10 agricultural produce drying facilities and 75 reservoirs. The project is expected to help around 36,000 people achieve food security and create jobs for approximately 4,700 people, 60% of whom will be young people.
More than 200 learners from Primary 1 to Primary 3 competed in mathematics this Tuesday through a competition known as Abacus Mental Math Competition. The competition aims to improve children's numeracy skills while helping them develop concentration, sharpen their minds, and learn to perform calculations mentally. Let's take a look.
The participants, aged between 5 and 9, were selected from among 720 learners from 15 primary schools in Gasabo, Kicukiro, and Nyarugenge districts. They had spent 5 weeks learning mathematics using a tool called the abacus, through exercises designed to help them better understand numbers and how to use them. The learners say this training helped them become more confident in mathematics.
Abacus helped me improve, it helped me concentrate and improved my memory so I also work fast, I do my work faster. I could usually forget things in minutes or seconds, but after learning Abacus, my memory has improved, and now I can memorize things for much longer and understand them easier.
Parents of some of the children also say they have noticed significant changes, particularly because their children now enjoy mathematics more than they did before.
Mathematics is the key of the knowledge. As an example for my child, before entering or start using this program of Abacus, she was not totally quick in multiplication or in math operations, but from the day he started studying using this abacus, she's doing well in the calculations and she's quick in mathematics. Yeah, she's very quick. For example, when I just talked to her about the using of money, before she struggled a lot for answering, but now when she's just using money, balance and what, she's very quick. Balancing money, she's very quick now.
The Rwanda Basic Education Board says the abacus is an approved educational tool in Rwanda. Its use mainly helps pupils understand numbers, the value of numbers according to their position, and perform basic calculations required at the lower primary level. As they progress, pupils are eventually able to perform calculations mentally without using the tool. The Director General of REB, Dr. Nelson Barushimana, notes that in the coming days, this approach and similar competitions will be extended to more primary schools, while mathematics teachers will also receive training on how to use this method.
Ibigo byose birimo byo mu Rwanda cyane yuko biri mu nteganyanyigisho.
All schools in Rwanda are expected to implement it, especially because it is part of the curriculum. However, what we are doing as the National Institute responsible for basic education is to continue providing training on it. We started this initiative in the city of Kigali, but during the next school holidays we will roll it out across the entire country so that children from all over Rwanda can compete with the best performers, advancing to the national level. This will also encourage other children to develop an interest in and enjoy mathematics.
The learners competed by answering written mathematics questions as well as responding to mathematical questions mentally. Awards were given to the top performing pupils in the competition, the best performing pupils from each participating school according to their respective grade levels, as well as those who demonstrated the best behavior during the holiday period when they were being trained using this method.
On that note, on behalf of the news production team and the technical team, would like to thank you for sticking with us here on RTV News. My name is Martina Avera, and until next time, stay safe and have a good night.